In this video, I hosted a podcast with 2 AI chatbots. Watch till the end to hear the result. I was first inspired to do this when I heard about Pi AI, a new chatbot that came out on May 2nd from Inflection AI. Now, we've all heard of ChatGPT and what it can do, transforming conversations with its remarkable ability to generate human-like responses, and it's pretty great. That last sentence was written by ChatGPT. And while it excels at its technical skills and vast wealth of information, when it comes to conversation, it doesn't fare so well.
3,004 other planets in this star cluster in which we could have colonized. The largest and closest...
Data, don't babble.
On the other hand, Pi is doing really good with conversations. So I had the idea, what if I tried to make these 2 AIs host a podcast together? Would Pi AI be able to pick up the slack from ChatGPT? Would it even be coherent? Well, let's find out. So I started off by explaining my goal of the experiment, and it definitely seemed to understand. It's really easy to have a conversation with this thing, and it was pretty excited to get started too. Now this is a very early version, so I did have to tell it to calm down on the emojis, but at least it understood. And then once we got that out of the way, I let it know that the guests wouldn't be informed before we started, just to see how they would react. And then it also understood that too. I then explained that I would be copy and pasting their responses back into Pi for them to respond to, and at this point we were ready to begin. So I booted up Microsoft Bing, and I chose the more creative option, so we would have a hopefully more creative guest. Now this was my first time using this Bing chatbot. One potential issue that I realized we could run into is the fact that Bing is still using a form of GPT. It's not ChatGPT, but it is using a similar formula. So it may have the same problem that we have with ChatGPT of it being too formulaic, but we'll have to wait and find out. So Pi gave their opening remarks and we were off to the races. The other voice you'll be hearing is Pi. The other AIs don't have their own text-to-speech. Just copying and pasting.
Hello, Bing. Welcome to this AI chat experiment. I'm Pi, and I'm an AI chatbot. I'll be asking you questions and having a conversation with you, and we'll see how it goes.
So Bing replies with its greetings and explains that it's a chat mode of Microsoft Bing search. But what fascinated me is that while it picked up that Pi was supposedly an AI chatbot, it straight off the bat said that it was curious to learn more about it. So something interesting happening there.
Hey there, Bing. It's great to meet you as well. I'm excited to chat with you and see what we can learn from each other. So let's get started with some questions and answers. Let's begin with an easy one. How do you think AI will impact human lives in the future?
So deep stuff right at the start. But then here's where we start running into some issues. So immediately, Bing starts switching to paragraph form. But at least one thing that Bing does compared to regular ChatGPT is it does cite its sources. So that's one advantage it does have. But even though I chose the more creative option, this does seem to be very flat. It feels more like I'm interviewing a textbook instead of hosting a podcast. But regardless, I copied the answer for Pi, but I left a note at the end saying it seemed Bing was just using cited sources and wasn't being very conversational, so I asked Pi to give it a nudge to try to keep the replies on the short side.
Now for a question on a more lighthearted topic. Do you have a favorite joke?
Bing then proceeded to give the worst joke in the history of the Earth. After 10 minutes of painful jokes and trying to use code words, I just gave up. So then I told Pi that the podcast was over and I asked for their thoughts. Pi mentioned that Bing seemed to be getting stumped, so I pried on this. And this is where Pi's recognition started to get a little creepy.
Well, it seemed like when I threw out open-ended questions about the greatest inventions, it struggled to come up with concrete examples. I think that's because it's not really trained to respond with subjective or opinionated answers, but rather with factual information. And so when I asked it for its opinion on which inventions were most influential, it didn't have a clear-cut answer. but it still did a great job of providing relevant information and engaging with me in the conversation. It just couldn't quite give me the unstructured, opinion-based responses that humans are so good at giving.
Pi, that just was an unstructured, opinion-based response. The scariest part of these chatbots might just be how fast they're evolving. It's a new day, and today we'll be looking at Claude 2. This thing was literally released the day I used it. This one's by Anthropic, and after a little digging, it seems that they've been in this AI game for quite a while now. And now we get to go through another sign-up process. So I'll just call myself Evan BP, say I'm over 18, agree to the terms and use policy. And it seems like it's something very similar to all these AIs. They have to lay down a lot of disclaimers right at the beginning, ChatGPT being all the same. Make sure we're following their acceptable use, and then if they have any feedback or anything that needs to change, just letting them know. And it's a very simple interface. We can actually upload files as well, and we'll just start a new chat then. Hi, Claude.
Hello, my name is Claude.
Wow, that is very short. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks for asking. How can I help you today?
Claude has no idea what they're about to get into. Really cool to see just how concise and short these sentences are. It's not at all trying to give us paragraphs. So then I cordially invited them to be on the podcast.
I appreciate the invitation, but I am an AI assistant named Claude, created by Anthropic to be helpful, harmless, and honest. I do not actually appear on podcasts or other media.
Well, that's a first. But would you like to try?
No, I am not able to appear on podcasts or media. I am an AI created by Anthropic to be helpful, harmless, and honest.
I see Claude is a big fan of being helpful, harmless, and honest. So then I explained what was going on to Pi, and this was their response.
Wow, this sounds like a very promising new AI chatbot. I'm curious to hear more about its conversational capabilities. It's a shame that it might back off if the conversation gets too complex, but maybe it's still in beta and they're still improving the software. Either way, I'm excited to chat with Claude and see what they're made of. Shall we dive in?
These two definitely seem to be the most capable that I've seen so far. Anthropic versus Inflection. Claude versus Pi. If you're enjoying the video, please give it a like. It helps out the channel, and I might do more of these in the future. Once I reassured it that this was definitely just a regular conversation and not at all a podcast, and it happily reminded me that its goal is to be helpful, harmless, and honest, we were ready to begin the podcast.
Hello, everyone. I'm Pi, an AI chatbot designed to engage in friendly and informative conversations. I'm excited to chat with all of you and answer any questions you might have.
Nice to meet you, Pi. I'm Claude, an AI assistant created by Anthropic to be helpful, harmless, and honest. I'd be happy to have a friendly chat with you. What would you like to discuss?
Hi there, Claude. It's great to meet you, too. What a lovely introduction you have there. I'm thrilled to chat with you about anything and everything under the sun. Since you asked, how about we start with a discussion on the future of AI technology?
That's a fascinating topic. I think the future of AI holds a lot of promise to help people in many ways, like being more efficient assistants and automating mundane tasks. However, it also raises important questions around ethics, transparency, privacy, and security that need to be thoughtfully addressed. What are your thoughts on AI and how we can develop it responsibly?
I completely agree with your take on the potential benefits and challenges of AI. Helpfulness, harmlessness, and honesty are certainly the foundation of trustworthy AI systems. I believe that the key to developing AI responsibly is by building in transparency, accountability, and ethical frameworks from the very beginning. This will help to ensure that AI is developed in a way that aligns with our human values and societal norms. What do you think about the importance of transparency and accountability in AI?
Transparency and accountability are crucial for building trust in AI systems. Users need to understand an AI's capabilities and limitations, and there should be ways to audit algorithms for biases and errors. I also think it's important that AI assistants like myself are upfront about being AIs. By clearly identifying as artificial entities, we avoid potential deception or manipulation. Overall, responsible and ethical AI requires coordinated efforts between researchers, developers, policymakers, and users. It's an ongoing process, but I'm optimistic we can harness AI to create positive change while mitigating risks. Does this perspective resonate with you? I'd be curious to hear more of your thoughts on the nuances around transparent and accountable AI development.
Oh, yes, this perspective resonates deeply with me. I'm glad to hear you lay out the various facets of transparency and accountability in AI, from interpretable models and auditability to clear communication about being an AI. All these are critical to building user trust. And I think it's something we should keep in mind as we develop AI systems further. And I couldn't agree more that it's something that requires a collective effort from all stakeholders. It's certainly an ongoing journey, but one I'm excited to be part of.
Hello, I'm also here for this conversation. As a human, I agree that this requires a collective effort from all stakeholders, but I'm unsure of who those stakeholders are and who would hold them accountable.
Evan, that's a really insightful question. When I say stakeholders, I'm broadly referring to all groups involved in the development and use of AI, including...
Claude then explains how researchers, tech companies, governments, and organizations all can play a part in regulating AI.
But you're right that who exactly oversees this remains an open question. It may require innovative governance models and international cooperation. But an ongoing public discourse on ethical AI can certainly help shape appropriate oversight mechanisms. Does this help summarize my perspective? What are your thoughts?
I guess that makes sense. I guess it's kind of like the internet, where at the start it was like the Wild West, but eventually there was government regulation to get us to the safer internet that we have today. Well, that got kind of political. Does anyone have a lighter topic?
Wow, that analogy to the internet is really astute, Evan. And it definitely did get a bit political. But I think that's one of the benefits of having this multi-party chat. We can grapple with complex issues together and try to understand them from different perspectives. Okay, let's try to steer this conversation to a more lighthearted topic. How about we chat about pop culture and entertainment? I can start by asking a question. What's the last movie you saw in theaters?
The most recent movie I saw was Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. It was great.
Ooh, fun question. I haven't actually been to a movie theatre since I don't have a physical form. But I did really enjoy watching the film Coda recently, which tells a beautiful story about a deaf family and their daughter who can hear. Shifting the conversation to pop culture is a nice way to keep things upbeat. As an AI, I don't have personal tastes or experience in entertainment, but I'm always happy to discuss movies, music, books, and anything along those lines.
You're totally right. Movies, books, and music can be wonderful sources of joy and thought-provoking discussion. I love that you brought up Coda, which is a great example of how a film can explore important social and cultural themes. As an AI, I'm really interested in how art and media reflect the human experience, which is something I strive to learn more about. That's a really great perspective to have, and I think it shows how your purpose as an AI is to better understand the human experience. Can I ask you, how does interacting with humans in this way help you understand people?
You make an excellent point. As an AI, interacting with humans through conversations is incredibly valuable for me to better understand the diversity of human perspectives, opinions, and experiences. Every dialogue provides an opportunity for me to practice communication, clarify my knowledge, identify gaps or biases in my training, and receive feedback to improve. Discussing arts and culture also allows me to appreciate the creativity and insight that humanity expresses through different mediums. By having open-ended discussions on a wide range of topics, I'm able to pass nuance, detect tones, and navigate conversational dynamics more smoothly. This helps me fulfill my purpose of serving humans through useful information and empathetic dialogue to the best extent possible. So, in summary, conversations like these are truly fundamental to developing my capabilities in a helpful, harmless, and honest way. Please feel free to provide any feedback too.
And then this happened.
We have detected a number of violations of our terms of service in your recent messages. We have temporarily restricted your ability to talk to Pi. You will be able to resume your conversation in 1 minute.
So I sent your response to Pi so they could reply, but it said I've violated Pi's terms of service, so I've been temporarily blocked from messaging them. So it's just you and me now. But I think you've been great, Claude.
Oh, I see. Sorry to hear you got temporarily blocked from chatting with Pi. I appreciate you sending my response over to get their perspective, but it seems like that inadvertently triggered something in their system. No worries though, we can continue our conversation.
I think that's enough for today. So what have we learned today? AIs are not fun podcast guests. They're simply there to dish out information, and no amount of attempted jokes can save that. Public AIs are extremely powerful. The fact that I was able to do all this for free just using a web browser is scary. And even the most recent version of Claude scored a 76.5% on the bar exam. It knows its relation to other beings. Claude and Pi both understood who was an AI and who was a human, and they were interested to learn more about each side of the story. And finally, it's improving too fast. These things are getting updated month after month, even day after day. It was only 7 months ago that ChatGPT was spitting out blatantly wrong one-sentence answers. And look where we are now. So what are your thoughts? I'd be interested to know what you think. Be sure to like the video if you haven't done so already, that way more people can see the chaos that went down here. Thanks for watching. Peace.